Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm going to be talking about a new independent film called Can You Ever Forgive Me? And this film is based off a real life event of a woman named Lee Israel. And she was a book author that kind of really didn't get very far. And where the story really takes place and where this story became a film was Lee Israel came up with the idea of finding old literary notes from celebrated famous writers and kind of embellishing them. So she'll find a letter that maybe was from a long time ago from a famous writer. Really not a lot to it. Maybe just wishing somebody happy birthday, or if they had children, telling their children what they had currently going on with their life. And so Lee Israel would find a way to put it into a typewriter or make a new note altogether and kind of age it through an oven or find a way to age it or just kind of make it look like an older note. And she would turn them in for money. She would turn them into people who were collectors, people who were very big fans of these certain writers. And so I guess she managed to do this for, at least the end of the film said this, I think for 400 different writers, so quite a bit. So she managed to get away with this for quite a while. And so the film really is about kind of her making success off of this because her books really weren't selling very well. She couldn't trade in anything after a while. She just really needed money for her cat, needed money for paying the rent and stuff like that. So she really needed money very quickly. And so she kept doing this. And so she has a friend that she meets along the way that kind of helps her with this, kind of makes it not so suspicious after a while. And so the film's really about kind of how this caught up to her, how people started to catch on that maybe having too many of these is a little too suspicious and too it's a little too out there and a little too convenient for this woman to have this many letters from this many writers. So a lot of people started to catch on after a while, and so the film's kind of about what happened when they caught on, how did she get away, what didn't she get away with, what did she have to do when she got caught, and all these things are explored over the course of Can You Ever Forgive Me? So overall, guys, I really like this film a lot. I remember even seeing trailers for this when this first came out, for the trailers of the movie, and I remember being really intrigued by it. I didn't really know a lot about Lee Israel going into this movie. I also am not a humongous Melissa McCarthy fan, so that was another reason why I was kind of debating whether I wanted to see this or not. But I knew deep down that, if she ever were to work as an actress, I think drama would be a better fit for her than comedy. So thankfully, that's kind of the route this film takes. I think that's a better fit for her overall. But I really didn't know a lot about Lee Israel. I just knew kind of a little bit about the movie. I really didn't know just how long she got away with this and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that intrigued me about this movie, and I'm a writer myself too. So that's another aspect as to why this film appealed to me, and kind of how she found success, even if it wasn't a legal form of success and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things about this movie that I really liked a lot. So for my positives and negatives of Can You Ever Forgive Me, I thought Melissa McCarthy, once again, really did a great job as a dramatic actress in this. I really do hope she does more dramas. I think she really fits in that genre better than comedy. For me personally, I feel like her comedic timing is a little bit off. Her jokes never really landed for me when she was in a comedy or anything like that. So I think drama's a better fit for her. I think she can definitely pull the struggling writer or the person who's under a lot of depression or a lot of anxiety. I think she's good at doing that kind of stuff, so that's another reason why I really hope she does more dramas. Is I think she's able to do that more as an actress, more so than feature length series of jokes. Keep it going on. I don't think she's quite as good as that as she is at drama. Richard E. Grant has a role in this film. He kind of plays the friend slash person who's kind of in on the whole thing with Lee Israel, kind of helps her out getting money for the letters and stuff. I thought he was very good in this too. Definitely a very off person. Definitely a person that any regular human being probably wouldn't want to hang around with. He drinks a lot. He does cocaine. He gets in trouble a lot. He knows how to scam money out of people and stuff. So he was definitely a good fit for this movie because he definitely kind of fit in with Lee Israel as far as scamming people into thinking that these are real letters and so forth. So I thought he did a great job with this movie, and who knows, we might even see him at the Oscars in the next couple of months. I also thought overall this was an interesting real life story. I really thought this was very, really kind of appealing in the sense that somebody figured this out. It's not legal. I definitely don't recommend anybody trying this, but I thought it was interesting in the sense that her books weren't selling. What can she do? What can she find? Found one of these letters, kind of turned it in, found a way to make even more money off it, and did it with for other writers too. So I just thought it was interesting. I really didn't know as much about this story and how severe this got until I saw this movie. I also thought this film did a good job displaying successful and struggling writers. It really does show kind of when writers get successful, how they kind of get snippy or they push people away. There's a whole segment on the movie of how Lee Israel hated Tom Clancy because he'd be paid $3 million just to write one book, while she's struggling to make a $10,000 book, and nobody wants to make it, nobody wants to publish it, nobody wants to read it, and so I thought the film also displays this how struggling writers work, how they have something that they want to say, but publishers don't want to publish it. They're worried that it's not going to make money. If your image isn't very good, like if you're a hard drinker, or if you're not nice around people, or if you don't get along at publishing parties, they don't want to work with you and stuff. So the film plays around with all these things, and like I said, it does display successful writers and struggling writers in an interesting way, I feel. And once again, the film does have a sense of struggle. You really do get the sense that Lee Israel didn't do this because her books weren't selling. She kind of had to do this because that was her only option. It was the only thing that was selling for her. It was selling better than all of her books. And one of her books was a New York Times bestseller. So she at least had one hit on her record, but she couldn't get that same success again. So the film kind of shows what she was willing to do is to find success again through all this struggle. And I thought that was very interesting in the movie. I also like the film's message is always make original content when you're a writer, no matter how hard it is, no matter how difficult it is. Always make original content. I always hear stories about people participating in fan fiction. And for me personally, I don't like that very much. I like it when people make their own original content. They make their own original stories, their own characters, their own messages. I like it when people make their own original voice in a story. And so I think Can You Ever Forgive Me tries to make that point of always make something original. Make something that's yours. Make something that has your voice. Don't steal from other writers. Don't, find an old letter. Make it something that you think the person would say, only to find out that that's not what they would say and stuff like that. So I like the film's message of make original content. That's what matters in the writing business. Make original content as much as you can and as often as you can when you're a writer. I think that's very important. For my negatives of this movie, I thought it was kind of suspicious all along that she got away with this for just this long, especially for 400 different writers and 400 different letters. You would think, I understand she would go to different people, find different clients, find different buyers, but you think with some of them, you think by like the third or fourth letter that she found a third writer and a fourth writer and a fifth writer for who are well known for different things. You think they would start to catch on with maybe some of these aren't really authorized or authentic. Maybe they're not from the real person. I felt like it took these characters a long time to kind of figure that out. There was even a point in the movie where it's like, let's send this in to get this authenticated, make sure it's the real thing. Why didn't that happen earlier? So there's a part of me that thinks, how come the film never addressed that some characters weren't addressing this earlier to Lee Israel? How come it took them so long to catch on to the fact that it took him this long to figure out that these weren't real letters? So that part of me was kind of like, it was kind of hard to believe after all, especially when they were cracking down on it. It's like, why didn't they crack down on this earlier? There's also some unspecific details being left out. They show brief segments of Lee Israel working, other jobs at the beginning of the film and working other jobs after she got caught and have to do like community service and so forth. But there's a lot of details that are left out in this film, and overall, I left with this film with more questions than answers on certain aspects of the story. There's also not enough letter zoom-ins, I feel. So I feel like when she's looking at a letter or kind of examining it, trying to figure out what the person would have said if the letter continued, they don't really show it. Like they show at a distance what she's looking at, but you never see what she's looking at as reading it. So there's one of those things where when she's typing it, you kind of have to piece together yourself what the letter could have been about, because they don't really show you what the letter was saying to begin with. So I thought there was things like that where just having more zoom ins, having more close ups to these letters so us as the audience can see what these letters were originally about and so forth. I thought that would have made for like a more interesting, more in-depth look as to how Lee Israel got away with this because if it's one thing if she's typing it and we kind of hear her take on it, but if we don't really know what the letter was about to begin with, how can we catch on to that? I also thought the film was kind of slow in some areas. There's some moments of the film where just like, okay, let's get moving, let's move this faster, let's get back to the story, because there's a lot of moments that just kind of resist to tell the rest of the story, just kind of slows down and puts it at a halt until the movie's comfortable moving forward with the story again. So I thought that aspect of the film could have been better. I thought the film's not the best at pacing. I also thought the musical score was almost non-existent in this movie. There just wasn't enough of a musical score in this film, and there's moments in the film that really represent something intense going on or something big going on, and I felt a better musical score could have represented that in a much bigger way for this movie. I also really never understood the criteria of the letter buyers. How come some of them sell it to you for 400 while others are only willing to give you like $200 for the letters? I understand there's moments of the film where they were talking about how certain people will scam you, they won't give you the right kind of money for certain things, but what exactly are they looking for? How come one charges you only 200 while the other person gives you 400 or even 600 or $800? I thought the film could have talked about the criteria of what they're looking for as far as buying these letters from the people and then selling them to collectors. I thought that could have been more specified. But overall, I'm going to give Can You Ever Forgive Me a 8.5 out of 10. Like I said, tons of great things to love about it. Melissa McCarthy and Richard E. Grant alone give Oscar-worthy performances, even if they don't win the award for their roles. I thought this was an interesting real-life story. It does display the success and the struggles that writers can face sometimes. I like the message of always make your own original content. I like how the film had a sense of struggle, but overall, I thought I had a hard time believing that she got away with it for this long. At least the film displayed it to me that way. Some unspecific details were left out. I thought more zoom ins to the letters could have helped the movie more. It was slow in some areas. The musical score wasn't quite existent enough to warrant its existence in the movie. And I thought the criteria of the letter buyers could have been a little bit more specific as well. So 8.5 out of 10 for me. Really liked Can You Ever Forgive Me? Highly recommend it. It's not the best film of the year, but it's a film that I highly recommend.